Hi, you guys. Welcome to another Empower Her talk show. I am your host, Coach Salita. I hope you guys have had a great week already. The first week of May is already gone. Almost. We got one more day. Well, we got till Sunday at least. But the work week is almost done. And I know a lot of you guys are so happy. I know so much is going on. I know you guys just finished with the Festival International. I missed it this year. I wanted to go, but I missed it. Um, then we have the Crawfish Festival coming up. You guys have a lot going on here. Let me say this. Thank you, AOC, for this opportunity. Thank you, LUS. Thank you, Cox Cable. Thank you, guys in the six surrounding parishes for giving me this opportunity to bring you guys some great information, um, news, whatever we can talk about on here. That's going to be empowering our women, celebrating. We're going to be talking about a lot of things. We're going to do a lot of things on here. So I want to say thank you for that opportunity. So I'm going to go ahead and dive into what I want to talk about tonight because I don't want to keep you guys long. I mean, you guys got better things to do, right? Right? So I'm just going to take my time and kind of tell you guys. And I guess I think, I don't want to say you need to know these things, but with me coming on here and sharing all the things I'm sharing, I want you guys to know the basis or the foundation of what we talk about on here. As you know, the name of my movement, because it's really a movement, it's not a nonprofit organization, it's basically a movement. It is called You Can't Clip My Wings. Okay, and as you can see at the bottom of the screen, you see that You Can't Clip My Wings has a website, which is youcan'tclipmywings.com. We have an Instagram page, which is YCC MW 2020, and we have a Facebook page. You Can't Clip My Wings Facebook page. You can definitely go over there and you can kind of see some of the things that we talk about. You can definitely go to the website. Maybe I should share the website on here for you guys to go through it. Maybe that'd be a good idea. I can do that tonight. But I want to tell you what the story behind You Can't Clip My Wings, what brought it all about. Um, in my younger days, when I was in the military, something tragic happened to me, and it changed how I thought. It changed how I did things. It changed everything in my life. But the underlying issue was I didn't realize it did. I thought all the things that I was going through in my life was supposed to be just that. I didn't know it had a underlying problem that was never um, found or resolved or investigated until later on. When a lot of things, mental and emotional things were happening, I didn't catch it until I actually start seeing a therapist, a mental health, and I realized what it was and that it formed a PTSD. That's where my PTSD came from this situation that happened to me. Well, when the situation happened, after it happened, I continued to blame myself that it was my fault that it happened. And that happens to a lot of victims. Not victims, I want to say survivors, because I don't want to label anybody a victim. We find ourselves in our minds and it starts to leak out in our lives that it's our fault. You did it. You did this, and that's what caused this. When in reality, we didn't do anything. People are just naturally evil. People are evil. And we have to know that people can be very evil and have an evil heart and an evil mind and have be very selfish and their souls are dark. I'm just saying it. And it's not just one or two people, it's several. Because throughout my whole uh, military career, these situations kept happening. And I just didn't realize I was dealing with a lot of evil, sick people. Yeah. So when I got out the military, all that happened to me followed me. It didn't close up, it didn't go away. It followed me and it started acting out in ways I was not prepared for. I didn't know until I actually went. and seen somebody and realized what I was going through and what the name of it was. Okay. Um, so got help, medicated, the whole 9 yards, therapy for years. I've been in therapy for this thing. And because this little thing turned out to be a big, big thing, other stuff, it kind of linked to other things that were happening in my life. And I didn't realize it. But it got so big that I said, you know what? I got to get some help. So I wound up getting help and realizing, and it was diagnosed. And now here I am. I'm not ashamed because we don't need to be ashamed. We didn't do anything. Okay. And you have to come to that point in your life. You didn't do anything wrong. People are just evil. And there's no making excuses for the evilness people have in them. And they take advantage of innocent people. And they take advantage of naive people. And then they try to blame you for it. And then you blame yourself for it. It was my fault. I did something. I had to do something. When reality is, when you come to the point where you have come to where the realization is, it's not my fault. It's not my fault. I didn't do anything wrong. And when you continue to find yourself telling yourself that and getting the help to make sure, that you self-assure yourself, I didn't do this. That's when your life changes. That's when everything in your life changes like a wall opens up and say, dog, man, I've been behind this wall all my life. And that's where you can't clip my wings come from, because I started to soar. I felt like someone was holding my wings away from me or pinning it toward me where I couldn't do all the things I wanted to do in my life. But I was able to. It didn't stop me. This is my testimony. This is my story. It's deeper, but I'm just telling you the surface. I'm just kind of putting it together so it won't take so long for me to tell you, because I don't want you guys to get bored with me talking about my life story. But when I realized that, you know what, I can really do this now. I can be anything I want to be. And I did just that. I did. I can truly say at this point in my life, I have done a lot of stuff that I wanted to do. Once I realized that I was no longer burdened, feeling like I was the blame, that I was able to let loose and be myself. You can't clip my wings. So that's where the phenomenal the the statement of "you can't clip my wings" came from, because I realized that no, you're not holding me back. You made me feel like this for years, but when I got the proper help and the proper treatment, I no longer felt that way, and I could say it out loud, because a lot of times I didn't say it out loud, and I was able to say it out loud. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. I didn't do anything to deserve what happened to me. And I want everybody out here right now, how they say, within the sound of my voice, if you have gone through something so tragic, it's not your fault. Stop blaming yourself and start living. Stop blaming yourself and start dreaming. Do not let anything stop you from doing the things that you want to do. Don't make excuses for what took place It wasn't your fault. Because we find ourselves, whether we know it or not, sometimes we find ourselves with the Stockholm syndrome where we protect the person, the evil person who hurt us. We find a way in our mind to protect them. Stop protecting them. Release that bondage you have on yourself and release that person out of your spirit. Release the act out. Release everything that's connected to it. If it's family, if it's friends, release them. Because if you don't release them, you'll be carrying them like an extra coat. Okay? You'll be carrying them with you. They'll be carried in your soul, and your soul will be heavy. Your heart will be heavy. Let them go. And let me say this. We're taught into each his own to forgive the person who hurt us. No. If that person did not come to you and say, please please forgive me and accept my apology. For me, I don't forgive that. Because that one thing changed my life. Even though now it's at a good point, but look at the years I lost. Look at the years you'll lose. Because you know what? That person went on and probably did something else to somebody else. And you're stuck carrying all the things that they've done to you. I am not saying it's up to you whether or not you want to forgive that person. What I'm saying is release them. Quit carrying them around. That's all I'm saying. Quit carrying them around. Okay? Quit giving them a space in your heart, in your soul, and in your mind. Quit allowing them to live there. Rent free. That's what we call it. Living rent free in your mind. Because they're gone and you're still suffering. They're doing their thing and you're still suffering. If you can't forgive them, release them. Just release them. Say, you know what? I no longer want you to spend time in my spirit and around me. Your energy. I don't want no more. I don't want you in my mind. You can say that to yourself and say it as much as it's going to take for you to release them and let go of that heavy burden that you feel because of what happened to you. There's so much shame when something like that takes place. So much shame the victim has to carry around. How people treat them, how their parents, how their family, how their friends treat them. You get treated differently. Everybody knows you do. Release them. But do not let them have that much power over you where you can't function in your everyday life and you can't be that person you want to be. Release them. And it took years. I'm not saying 2 or 3 years. It took me years, like close to 20, to release this person and realize it wasn't my fault. I didn't do anything. That's the real time when you can say, I didn't do anything. You know, when we were little and we said, Mommy, but I didn't do it. even though you know you did it. Well, this is a whole different ball game. You didn't do anything. It's not your fault that you had evil people around you that thought evil things and wanted to do evil things. It has nothing to do with you. You were just there. It was almost an opportunity for them. You were just an opportunity. And I mean, and that's not even in a positive way. So don't blame yourself for anything that's taken place. You need to release that person out of your spirit, release the situation, no matter what it is. Release it out of your mind, out of your spirit, away from your energy. Do not let it stay there because in the end, it will hurt you. It will hurt you mentally. It will hurt you emotionally. You will not find happiness. It will take you as long as it took me to find happiness and find myself. My self worth was affected. My self esteem was affected. And most of the time, that happens to people who have been victimized. In the military, the most sexually harassed person is an African American woman because nobody believes her. And we're taught to be strong. We're taught to bounce back. Then, in true reality, that's not how it works. We suffer in silence because in our DNA, our ancestors suffered in silence as they were being raped, molested, harassed by her master friends, okay, his relatives, and even some other male slaves. So we're taught to suffer in silence. And we're also taught that we're not worthy for anyone to listen to us. And that's sad, but it's true. Because you got to remember, we were property. And if you look at today's society, look at how everything has done a 360 and we're back to where we were because that's the way a lot of times African American women are treated to this day. I was watching a video and a young lady, I think she was coming out of a store, and a young man poured milk all over her because she refused to give him her number. There's a young lady, African American lady, died because she rejected a male. This is an ongoing thing with African American women. We go away, we serve this country, whatever reason is, we still serving this country. And we do it with everything we have. And we're very proud of our accomplishments. But if we say anything about something happening to us, it's ignored. And it's sad that a lot of times these are not strangers. These are people we know. These are people we work with. These are people we go to the field with. These are the people that we fight next to. That do these terrible things to us. And then we come out and we know we have to survive. Some women become alcoholics, some become drug addicts, some become very promiscuous and become dangerous, and they put themselves in dangerous situations because that's all they know. Some people hurt themselves. We are not known to commit suicide as much as any other gender or race. African American women are not known to do that. At one time, we wasn't. Because for some reason, we carry a lot of guilt and we blame ourselves for the things that happen to us when it's not our fault. Somebody found a way to take advantage and turn around. When they take the advantage, they blame it on you. And that's where we find ourselves a lot of times. We find ourselves in situations where we're being blamed for something we did not do. So we carry that. And I'm just telling you from someone who did just that for years. Don't carry that. Don't carry that with you. You didn't do it. It's not your fault. I don't care what it was. No one has a right to abuse you in any way, no matter what it is. No one has a right to that. Okay? No one does. And I know a lot of people like, well, she did this, and no. She might have done whatever it is. You had no right to touch her. You had no right to violate her. You had no right to take from her who she is, the essence of who she is. You had no right to that. And this is what happens a lot. And we have to go through so much to just get us back. When I wrote the book In Search of You, that book In Search of You is a connection to everything. When something has been snatched away from you, your self-esteem, your self-worth, who you are. How you see yourself. And a lot of times, I see a lot of women who are so eager to be loved by somebody. It doesn't matter who. They just want to be loved. Because when something is taken away from you, one of the things that is taken at that time is your willingness to want to be loved. That you don't think you deserve love because something's been taken away from you, and then left in its place is your belief that you shouldn't be loved. So we go through life in these crazy relationships, these abusive, mental abusive, physical abusive relationships. Mental, emotional relationships that don't work. And you wonder why. You can't be with someone and enjoy being with that person. It's because somewhere inside you. Now, let me say this. If you never experienced this, I'm not saying this for everybody. I'm saying it from people who have been victimized in some way or another, or have been violated, because it's not the same for everybody. We love differently because we have no other choice. Because whatever that trauma was, that's how our love was projected to us. So we find ourselves loving differently. And we find it hard to love because we find it hard to think somebody wants to love us. That's what makes it so more of a tragic afterwards, is because we're struggling trying to, you got to love me. Look what I am, who I am. You got to love me. When in reality, it's your way of trying to survive. And it's your way of trying to say, I deserve that too. Because you're looking at everybody around you, happy go lucky and life going on and da da da, and you're wondering why you're in this trench. And it seems like you're going down and down and down and down. And you're trying to hold up. No, wait, I'm here. And everybody's walking around you and nobody's paying attention to you. You're over dramatic. You doing this, nobody understands. I'm just trying to get attention. I'm just trying. When you're doing that, people are not paying attention. And then you find yourself falling back and you find yourself not feeling. You're not feeling good. You're not feeling yourself because you're on this journey of trying to be validated because of all that you've gone through. I just need somebody to believe in me. I just need somebody to say I can do it. And then sometimes that thing that happened to you turns you angry and bitter. And you find yourself getting into all kinds of troubles. And you don't know where it came from. Because sometimes we can forget the tragedy that happened to us, or we find a way to stick it in the back of our minds and we don't talk about it, we don't think about it. We live, we survive. So we're constantly in this survival mode. We're constantly just trying to survive, just trying to get through the day. Just if I could just get up today. If I could just get up today, if I can just not have to call into work because I don't like being around people. These people smother me. Your whole way of doing things change. But once you release all of that, you can be around people because now you have a different perspective and you know now how to handle them. And you know now how to maneuver through all of that. But we also have to keep in mind that if we allow triggers to control us, they will. Now, I can say I still battle triggers on certain situations, certain things I see on television, certain things I hear, or certain things I see on social media. It triggers. And I know I have to step back and leave it alone or scroll on by. Change the channel. Because I don't need to go back where I was before in those dark places. I don't need to go back there. I've come too far. And I don't want you to think I'm just talking about me. I'm talking about anybody who's been through this. Get the help you need. And I understand sometimes we don't have that help and it's not available for everybody. I get that. I really and truly get that. And I'm sorry that it's not. And you do need professional help. And I'm saying that to you guys. You do need professional help in order to get through this. We can pray all day long, y'all. I'm not saying don't pray. We can meditate. We can do all those things to help us. Those are helpers. Those are tools we can use. But you do need another perspective on how to handle your episodes. You need help because I'm so glad I got help. I'm so glad I could tell my story to somebody and they listen and they say, this is what's going on with you. This is why this happened. This is why you didn't do this. It helped me. And I want you guys to get help. And if there's any female veterans out there that are listening and watching me, get help. Get help. There's several Facebook pages that I know that a lot of the young ladies are on there and they're talking about their trauma. They're talking about it. And I'm not saying go there and just listen to them talk about it. You'll hear solutions in some of that stuff. Some people are at a point where they want help, they can get help, but sometimes we get stuck and we're comfortable in our uncomfortability. I hate to say that. Sometimes we are. And also sometimes it's more comfortable to use it as a crutch. And I'm not, please don't let me say this. And I don't want to be where I'm saying this to belittle or disrespect anyone. But sometimes we use certain things because it gets us certain things. You understand what I'm saying? If I'm trying to get attention in that thing that took place, that it gets me the attention. Just like when I said we go through life trying to validate, being validated by someone else. Love me, love me, love me. It's almost the same thing. It's like a crutch. And sometimes in order for us to be strong, because hey, we have to be strong for everybody and everything. One thing that we're being strong for or strong with, it doesn't help sometimes. So you do need that next step. You do need to get help professionally. I know you don't like going to the VA. Sometimes people don't like sharing their stories at the VA because you have to talk to people. But now you can go outside the VA and get help. You don't have to use the VA. You don't have to see the therapist and the mental health um, staff at the VA because they have what we call community care. So you can go on the outside and talk to somebody. Because what it does is, if we don't get the proper help, we're in this downward spiral. We're always doing something. We're always into something. We're always losing out on something. And we're angry. And we're angry because we want to blame ourselves for what took place. Stop. And I said that earlier, and I'm saying it again. Stop blaming yourself. You didn't do it. It wasn't your fault. Evil people are just evil people. And I want you to stop blaming yourself. Stop saying, it's my fault. It's not your fault. So when you have an opportunity, get up in the morning, go in your mirror, stand in your mirror, and say, I didn't do anything wrong. It's not my fault. If you have been victimized some way, violated some way, it's not your fault. You didn't do anything wrong. It wasn't the dress you wore. It wasn't the shirt you wore. It wasn't the shoes you wore. It wasn't the car you drove. It wasn't the drink you were drinking. It wasn't the food that you eat. It wasn't even your conversation. It wasn't the way you wore your hair, how beautiful you look, how in shape you are. It wasn't none of that. You just came in contact with an evil person that if it wasn't you, somebody else would have gotten. And I'm saying that because most of the time, that's exactly what it was. It had nothing to do with you. When those type of things happen, it has nothing to do with you. It's all about the person and their sickness and their need to control women. Because lots of times it's about control. Majority of the time, it's about control. It's not your fault. You didn't do anything. You just encountered an evil person that was on hell bent on doing something evil. And the ideal that his evilness didn't go to the extent of literally hurting you. When I say hurting you, I'm talking about murdering you or laming you. That's the blessing. I shouldn't say the blessing. That's not what I want to say. That is the ideal. That is, you were able to survive it to the point where they didn't do that because that could have been the next thing they wanted to do because they didn't want evidence. Because what if you told somebody what happened to you? So the ideal that we survived and lived is miraculous. So when you look at that, you have no reason not to spread your wings. Because again, you encountered somebody who was already hell bent on doing something wrong. You survived it. So when you look back on what happened, don't stay there. Don't linger. Don't get comfortable in that version of you. Because that version of you was helpless and innocent. And that version of you was unprotected. So don't find yourself being those three things by going in the past and reliving that incident. That's why I can't clip my wings because I'm going to soar. I'm going to fly high and I'm going to do all the things that you thought you stopped me from doing. You can't clip my wings. You can't stop me from loving because now I know how to love. I didn't back then. And after the incident, I didn't. I was grappling for love. I don't care who could give it to me. I don't care how they did me. I was grappling for love. So you found yourself in a cycle over and over and over again. And you found yourself with these raggedy men who didn't mean you no good. Because you know what? The energy that you were exuding, you attracted those type of people because you hadn't vibrated to a higher level because you're still blaming yourself. So they knew that. Their energies knew that. So every time you turn around, you were in a relationship, it was going good, great, great, great. For a couple of days. I'm just saying it. I know it was longer than that. But a couple of days, and then before you know it, either they're ghosting you, either they're talking down to you, being disrespectful, they're even being abusive towards you. And you're like, I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying. They weren't for you. They weren't for you. But you didn't know that because you were still blaming yourself. You were still blaming yourself for something you had no control over. So you attract these raggedy men, and you're in these raggedy relationships or situationships or married men, single women messing with married men, and all the drama that goes with it. That wasn't for you. That's not what the higher power wanted you to have. But you found yourself in that because people could see. You got to remember now, your energy tells everything about you. How you were walking, if you were walking with your head down and you didn't want to look at people and you act a certain way and you gave off the vibes that come on in and abuse me. I don't care about myself. Come on in. But you didn't know any better. It's not nothing I'm blaming you for. You didn't know any better. But now you do. And you probably do get triggered from time to time from things people do. And that's fine. That's fine because you're still trying to get to that point. Because I'm there. I just told you guys, I can get triggered by certain incidents and certain things I see. It's your trigger. And when we allow the triggerness to happen, when we allow it, we're allowing what happened to us have a little bit control over us. So you fight the triggers. So you don't put yourself or you don't put yourself in a situation where those triggers can fly up. You're entitled to be angry. You're entitled to cry. It's healthy to cry. You're entitled to everything that's supposed to happen to you that's normal, what we consider normal. Because, I mean, normal, when you talk about normality now, it's like, poof, we don't even know what's normal anymore. But those are things that we're supposed to do as humans. But we also are supposed to be happy as humans. We're also supposed to laugh and enjoy ourselves as humans. We're also supposed to be able to live out our dreams as humans. And we're supposed to not always feel like we're being victimized in every situation we're in because we won't release those situations out of our lives that hurt us. Some of us have been victimized more than once. Yeah. Some of us have been very victimized more than once by several different people. It could be family. It could be friends. And you know what? Some of us are very much so interacting with the people that hurt us that way. Because some of us have been told to forgive that person. And you forgive that person, but you still have to be around that person. So you only forgave them. You didn't release them out of your mind. You didn't release them out of your spirit. And don't think they don't know that, because that's why they make it so comfortable to come around you and be in your presence, because you've made it comfortable for them to be around you, especially when you didn't tell on them to the right people. Some of us are married to the perpetrator, and we resigned ourselves because we find it where we don't love ourselves enough to get away, and we make all excuses while we stay. Some of us have allowed our violators to be comfortable with violating us. They know you're not going to tell anybody. They know that you've accepted them. They know that you've asked for forgiveness, or you forgave them, that is. So they feel comfortable around you. They feel comfortable being in your presence. Yeah. Yeah. They feel comfortable sometimes sitting at your dinner table. If there's somebody you work with, they feel comfortable eating lunch with you because you've allowed them to be comfortable. And if you're comfortable in your uncomfortability, they know they don't have to do anything. They've already done what they needed to do. And then sometimes when Stockholm syndrome kicks in, do you know what Stockholm syndrome is? Let's talk about what Stockholm syndrome is. Give me a second. Real quick here. We're going to talk about what Stockholm syndrome is. Simple Google search. A Stockholm syndrome is a proposed condition or theory that tries to explain why hostages sometimes develop a psychological bond with their captors. It is supposed to result from a rather specific set of circumstances, namely the power imbalances contained in a hostage taking, kidnapping, and abusive relationships. So you find yourself protecting, the person who victimized you. Sometimes forgiveness does that. And when you tell a person who victimized you, I forgive you, what you did was, to me, you've given them your power. That's just how I see it. So you forgive them and then you say, I release you. Because when you release them, you don't have to think about them. You don't have to deal with them. And you might, because you might work in the same place they do. I don't know. They might live in the house with you. I don't know. But I know me, I couldn't do it. I had to get away from that. I would have to move. I would have to get divorced. I would have to just kind of just directly get myself away from that person. I know everybody is not able to do that. Please do not get the impression that I am saying to you guys, you know, just pack up and leave. Go where no, I'm saying you have to find a way to deal with that person. Because if you have to deal with them on an everyday basis and they're the very person who hurt you, you've got to figure out how. Me, I would leave, but everybody doesn't have that opportunity. And everybody doesn't have a situation where they can do that. And that's understandable. But you have to find a way. And one way is to get help. Allow somebody to show you how you can handle things differently. Because I know you're not able to always just pack up and leave. I get it. I get it. And don't feel bad that you can't. But you have to find a way to cope because what happens with us, we survive all these different things. We survive, survive, survive. We only survive them. We get through them. But what's on the other end for us? We survive them, but is there happiness at the other end? We survive it, but what do we do now after we've survived it? Some people say, well, you survived it, live. But it's easy for them to say that when they don't realize what you had to survive and the sacrifices you made in order to survive. So you live your life surviving, not enjoying, not being happy, not learning, not doing anything. You're just surviving when there's so much more you can be doing. You get up every day. You get up, go to work. You fake smile. You laugh. You might even go to dinner with friends or something. When you go back home, that's like you survived that day. So I go back home, and you go back home to your reality. And your reality is you're lonely. You're still blaming yourself. And you suffer in silence because you have nobody to talk to. You didn't have any kids. You're single. So you don't have a real support system. But you're good at pretending everything's fine. You allow that person to spend rent free in your head because when you're alone, you're replaying that incident over and over again, and it's bogging you down further and further and further, deep and deep, deep down into depression. Some women don't survive. Some women get to the point where they do commit suicide because they didn't have a support system. They didn't even have a belief system, somebody to believe what happened. So you can't clip my wings movement is for those women. It's for those women who didn't have someone in their corner to encourage them, to tell them that everything is going to be all right. But you have to believe it. You have to be strong and you have to get the help because it's there. You have to sit up straight and not only survive, you have to thrive and you have to live and you have to be happy and you have to stop blaming yourself because you deserve better and you're beautiful inside and out. Even when you're mad and angry, when nobody understands why, when you can't seem to get everything together, you are still beautiful. No matter what someone says to you, you're beautiful and you're extraordinary because you're no longer a victim. You're unique in everything you do. You don't have to have a Coke bottle shape. You don't have to have long hair. You don't have to look a certain way for someone to take advantage of you and ruin your life. You don't have to do that. You don't have to be a particular way. When evil is a mist, evil's a mist. It had nothing to do with your looks. They were going to do something evil anyway. And they didn't care the repercussions of what they did. They didn't care. And that's why they don't deserve, when you're down and in your darkest moment, they don't deserve to have that time to continue victimizing you by you playing the incident over and over in your head and blaming yourself. They don't. Mm. So I'm saying to each and every one of you out there, if you fit the bill of anything I just said, don't let them do it. Be strong. Stand up for yourself. Get away from them and live your life to the fullest. Stop just surviving. Get the help that you need. All right? So, I'm hoping that you enjoyed this. Again, you can check out our website. You can't clip my wings. You can check out our Instagram. You can check out our Facebook page. This movement is for you. All right? So, you guys have a great evening. We love you here at the Empower Her Talk Show. You guys have a great evening. Bye bye.